George Carlin said, think of how stupid the average person is, and realize half of them are stupider than that. What real life example have you seen that validates this view? I'm a physician. I doctor specifically. I will tell you that the longer I work, now 15 years, my standard for the average person continues to decline. Case in point, thanks to the awful information filtering out there, I had a patient just last week who read that vitamin D helps you resist a coronavirus infection. Well, he had also read that you can get more vitamin D by getting more sun. So he wanted to collect as much light as possible with his eyes. As a result, he stared at the sun for a solid 60 seconds and burned holes directly into his retinas, permanently reducing his vision with no chance at future improvement. This is awful, but it is also hilarious. Customers arguing that their tattoo is backwards, while their artist tries to explain that no, your tattoo is fine, it just looks backwards, because that's how mirrors work. Just imagine what tattoos those people have gotten. I used to work in travel, and the amount of people that did not understand the following was staggering. You cannot take a 327 round trip night cruise from Miami to Australia, and no, your friend did not just book this. No, there are in fact no ocean-bound cruises leaving from Arizona. You cannot take a cruise from Miami to Hawaii and back in 7 to 10 days. No, the airport is closed due to hurricane/flood/ice, and you cannot demand a flight on a different carrier out of the same airport in the next hour. Also no, you did not just see someone book this. Yes, it is a shorter flight for your friends from East Coast US to the Caribbean than you in Europe, and no, nobody can change that. Yes, I will need your DD-214 to confirm a military rate. No, your word you were in a covert unit will not suffice, and no, I'm not disrespecting the military, because I cannot simply take your word for it. Yes, if a passport/visa/travel vaccinations are needed for you to travel, you will need it. And no, a manager cannot override this as it is a government requirement. I have been doing this for 6 years, and no, your friend's neighbor's hairdresser's roommate's cousin's mailman does not know more about this than I do. Friend of mine showered in cold water for a year cause he never thought of turning the other tap to see what it would do. That's the dumbest thing I've read in this thread so far. I have pressed every single button, turned every tap, and flicked every switch in my house at least a million times, including fuses. How people can just stand in a shower and never try anything, especially if they don't have hot water, just blows my mind. I used to work for a chatbot app. Our app would text our users every morning with a greeting in a different language, that is hola, bonjour, etc. One day we got blown up by a user saying their account was hacked. She said, "My name is Kim Smith, not Kim Kanajiwa. Someone's hacked my account." When we explained that our service has been clearly saying hello to her in other languages every day, and that konnichiwa is hello in Japanese and her account was fine, she went on a racist rant and said Disney was behind the destruction of America. Yep. About half the calls I take on a daily basis, people call 911 to ask whether Walmart is open, to report that they didn't get enough mayo on their burger, to complain that cleanup at a fatality wreck is taking too long. All sorts of silly, out of touch shit. Granted, there is probably some level of mental illness and/or substance abuse present in those calls. But still, sounds like this can be an entire AskReddit thread itself. My dad is a pesticide investigator for the state and heard this on a complaint. I set out all these bird feeders and bad baths, but not one bird comes to my yard. I bet it is all those pesticides that crop duster is laying down in the field. Local school board member, as they were standing in her 5-acre yard with 20 or more cats running around. I just had a customer yell at me for putting their eggs in a separate bag, saying they don't want all those bags and the paper ones always rip, before putting it in the bag and throwing a pound of flour on top. It was somewhat satisfying seeing their faces. We heard the cracks until I realized I'm the one who needed to clean it up. Oh, also she complained that we hadn't warned her about the fragility of eggs. At the start of working from home due to COVID, I had a few users submit tickets for connectivity issues. These tickets got through to lines of support before landing in my queue. Turns out that the corporate Wi-Fi doesn't follow you home, and you need home internet in order to connect to the VPN. I recently spent 20 minutes on the phone with a board member trying to diagnose why his camera wasn't working for our online meetings. Funny thing, you have to actually have a camera in order for it to work. I used to manage a retail store that sold teen clothing, so as expected, I primarily had teens working for me. One employee came to the back room while I was on break and asked what I was eating. Somehow the topic turned to how I should brought chicken for lunch because she wanted chicken. I told her I was vegetarian and therefore don't eat meat. She tells me chicken is not meat, it's poultry, and vegetarians can eat poultry. She said at the grocery store the aisles list meat and poultry separately, so they're obviously different. We argued for a couple of minutes before I finally told her to go back to the sales floor. She didn't last at the job long, but damn. Wait, you should brought chicken because she wanted some, ma'am. You know the reason you bury a rattlesnake after you kill it is because bees will eat it. Then bees can sting people with rattlesnake venom. Guy I heard constantly trying to pick up women on public transit. That sounds like a sick superpower though. Then a bear eats the honey and it gets snake fangs and stingers on its claws. The circle of life is both gorgeous and terrifying. I worked in retail for a few years and it taught me that many people are either incapable or unwilling to read. I have had people walk up to me to ask me how much something is, only for the price tag to be featured prominently on the item. It's $9.99, ma'am. How did you know? It says so on the price tag, ma'am. The number of people who don't read menus at restaurants. It hurts me. Edit, spelling, because I think faster than my fingers can type. I worked with a lady who was remarking on how a friend of hers had lost a bunch of weight. She pondered, I wonder how many Diet Cokes she had to drink to do that. Edit, same lady was convinced beyond repair that when you sneeze, the air only comes out of your nose. There was no convincing her otherwise. Man, this made me a little sad. People are so susceptible to marketing these days that they think just because something is called diet it must be good for them. Reminds me of my flatmate from uni who used to drink smart water before taking exams. I teach 6th grade. One time a parent came to me after trying to help their child with math homework and asked, what number is X worth? It feels like it changes with every problem. I don't know if this is satire or not, but good job. It is not. The parent came to me after school without their child because they knew something was wrong and didn't want to look stupid in front of their kid. I worked at a bank. Mobile depositing had just became a thing. We received a picture of someone's cash for deposit. Yay. See bro, just wait like 2 hours and take another photo of the same cash and deposit it again and again and again. Whoa, instant money. Yeah bro, instant money. Fuck, we are gonna be so rich off this $84. You mean our $168 bucks? There is a considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourists. Yass my park ranger on why it's hard to design a bear-proof garbage can. I genuinely thought that was about to be a Yogi Bear quote. Hey boo boo, we are smarter than the average tourist. A woman I used to work with who insisted that any animal could reproduce with any other animal. She believed that sperm from any animal was the same and that DNA was irrelevant. She believed this because she once saw some sickly, possibly deformed puppies and decided that they must have been half dog and half rat. Ah yes, rat terriers. A former coworker was talking about how she wanted to go back to school to get her master's degree because she only had a bachelorette degree and wanted more job opportunities. I said, do you mean a bachelor's degree? She insisted it was pronounced bachelorette when it was given to a woman. Then she led me back to her office and pointed at her diploma to the word baccalaureate and said, see, bachelorette. I had a coworker, really sweet girl, but dumb as shit, tell me she smoked American spirits because they were non-addictive. See, as she showed me the box. Oh, honey, no. That says no additives. Such a sweet, stupid girl. She was a good server, at least. Was at a party and someone's shitty old truck got stuck in some mud, so instead of sobering up and coming back the next day, he makes a Molotov cocktail with gas and throws it at the truck. The truck caught fire and was completely destroyed. Jason, Whenever you've got a problem, throw a Molotov cocktail, and then you've got a different problem. When I was in high school, we were reading a short story about what would have happened if the Japanese attacked us back with nuclear weapons after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A girl in my class raised her hand and said something along the lines of, "Why does this matter? None of it is real anyway." The teacher had to ask her to clarify, but this girl thought WWII and the bombing of Japan were just from a movie and didn't actually happen. The best part is, the girl was half Japanese. Wow, her mind must have been blown when she found out WWII happened. Worked at a larger grocery chain whose deli used scales that would show you digitally the weight, so 1.5 pounds would show 1.50 pounds on the scale etc. The person I worked, 35 years, had to ask me to come over and tell her how much she had sliced every time she assisted someone for over 4 months. She had passed the written and verbal test they give to verify that you should be able to do this. She didn't seem to have problems reading any other signs or numbers, so I don't think dyslexia played a part, but man, it was so frustrating trying to do my job and hers. I work in it. I once had a lady call me from home because she couldn't get connected to her VPN. I asked her if she was connected to her home wireless network. She replied saying that she did not have home wireless. I then asked how she was connecting to the internet. Her reply was, "I'm using the cell tower. I can see it from my house." While this is technically possible with a hotspot or cellular card in your PC, this isn't what she meant. She thought she could get internet service via Wi-Fi from the cell tower. I'm an insurance claims adjuster. If you truly knew how many stupid drivers you're sharing the road with, you'd never drive again. Edit, because I keep getting this question. I avoid driving whenever possible. I have a car, but I take the bus to / from work. I never drive at night. I work in highway safety, can confirm. I can no longer count on 2 hands the number of people I've stopped with in the middle lane of traffic on a freeway with no bigger problem than a flat tire. When I question them as to why they stopped in the middle of a freeway, the typical answer is either the vehicle wouldn't go any further or they don't want to damage their rim. I swear to whatever you want me to swear to, people will put the well-being of the rim on their car above their own safety and even the safety of their children. On 9/11, the general manager called his daughter who was attending ASU to wake her up and make sure she saw what was going on. The customer service manager said, "It won't be on her TV yet. Arizona is 2 hours behind us. Why didn't Australia warn us about 9/11? After all, they are several hours ahead." Reminds me of a Facebook post that went, "Just found out China is like 12 hours in front of US of US. Why didn't they tell US about 9/11? Fuck China, 3 billion people died," not verbatim but close. I worked at Little Caesars and we were proofing the dough for pizza. My boss said at 7 PM that the dough needed to rise for 12 hours and took out her calculator to do the math. So I said that's gonna be 7 AM. Then she said the dough will expire in 48 hours and started doing the math again. I told her it would expire 2 days from now and she said that's kinda weird how that works out. I quit shortly after that. The most surprising thing here for me is that Little Caesars bakes fresh dough and actually bothers with the long leavening time. Infantryman was told to trim the hedges, so he lifted the lawnmower. His buddy started it. As a brand new medic, I spent about 6 hours pulling finger meat from the hedges. Edit. Thanks for the award. Update. Sorry, I'm a derp and on a phone. For clarification, it was early 2004 after OIF won in the 82nd. I was a PFC with only a year and a half in service. We bandaged him, then used tourniquet, temporarily. Senior medics took him to the ER. I was field sanitation qualified, so I was left in charge of cleanup. 6 hours was excessive, but after we pulled most the meat and bone out, we had to hose down the hedges, the ground, the grass he bled in, the ground/floor outside and inside where he left a decent amount of blood had to be rinsed and sterilized. The mower had to be rinsed and cleaned. It had some damage from the drop. The private that started the mower had to be smoked by his NCO. We finished in about 4 hours of actual work with 2 hours of fucking off mixed in, cause the sham shield is a real deal. Holy shit, that's dumb. I had a friend once who truly believed that magicians like Chris Angel and David Blaine had some kind of magical power or telekinesis, something along those lines. While watching one of those magicians on TV performing on the street, he argued, "How could this be fake? Look at all those people. Can't fake all that. Has to be some kind of power or magic." I would then have to ask, do you realize that movies are fake? They fake entire universes, planets, cities, war, etc. He didn't get what I was getting at. Right, I know it's fake, but I do enjoy trying to figure out how they did it. Also, it's just cool as shit what they can come up with, especially in live performances. I once offered a girl a tuna sandwich and made a comment about the tuna being dolphin friendly. She then said I thought tuna fish came from dolphins. I guess she at some point she heard that if you love dolphins you shouldn't eat tuna and thought tuna is what we call dolphin meat, like we call pig meat pork or cow meat beef. Just scroll down a web page or Facebook feed and have a look at the ads. Things like only 2% can solve this puzzle shit like that. Those ads get posted so much because they actually work on a lot of people. My fav, if those see what your fandom / whatever name is based on your date of birth / hometown / first and last letters of your mom's maiden name / etc. Things like you have a chart and people post their results and it's a gold mine for anyone looking for the answers to those pesky security questions. LMAO. There are still people who fall for, if you post your password it comes up as asterisks. Watch. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In grade 10, we had a science test and the teacher gave 1 point for putting a date on the paper and 1 point for your name on the paper, and then there were 98 points for the rest of the test. A guy sitting in front of me got 0.500ths, didn't write the date and only wrote his first name. That's fucking hilarious. Reminds me of the time my classmate copied the test answers of my other smarter classmate in 2nd grade. He got caught because he copied the name to 2nd grade. I saw that happen in high school. The next day the teacher was just savage, publicly calling it out. 30+ years later I still remember him starting out the class congratulating Todd on doing so well on the test, but next time, he didn't need to hand in 2 copies. Oh, and by the way, I didn't get anything handed in by Mike. Sorry Mike, you get a 0. I was doing a covered decon of a medical supply warehouse that had a confirmed positive employee not too long ago, and while my team was inside doing our thing, the floor / shift manager was following us around without a mask or gloves or really any of the proper PPE except for a high-vis vest and steel toe boots. I had to tell her to leave the room. I was fogging with Viricide. Edit. Meanwhile, we were wearing full level C hazmat suits with P100 combo cartridge respirators and all seams taped up. I once got into an argument with someone over my own name. There are 2 pronunciations, German and English, and they just couldn't accept the fact that I use the English pronunciation despite the fact that we were speaking English and it's what I've used my whole life. But nope, I was lying to mess with them. I've got 2 little girls who were born 15 months apart. They look pretty similar and we get asked if they are twins pretty often. Even though one is quite a bit taller, you'd be forgiven for thinking they were fraternal twins. But yeah, I once got into an argument with somebody over whether my daughters are twins or not. It wasn't until I pointed out that I was literally there watching them being birthed that they finally conceded. People that cut holes in their masks because it's easier to breathe. I've seen countless people here on the news wearing the masks in such a way that only their mouths were covered. Their noses are completely exposed. You might as well not be wearing a mask at all if you use them like that. I saw someone just the other day who pulled down their mask to cough. It was a stunning event. Knew a kid who drank bleach to prove it wouldn't kill you. A week later he showed up at school after taking a shot. He said he proved his point when the teacher asked why he was bragging about it. Mr. Hawk just said, "But you cannot argue that without that medical treatment you'd have died, though you even said you have stomach damage and a burn esophagus yourself." This kid was bragging about that. He was not mentally disabled or otherwise. He was just that kind of idiot. Edit. Thank you all. Who'd have thought my most upvoted comment would be about some kid I knew drinking literal bleach. RIP my inbox. I knew a girl in high school who wanted to breathe fire. She put lighter fluid in her mouth and instead of blowing it onto a flame, she lit it on fire inside her mouth and then tried to blow it out. She came to school the next day with a bandage over half her face. That people act surprised at the total death count going up. It's always going to go up. If it was going down, that's an entirely different pandemic altogether. Lol. I hope the zombies follow social distancing. Well, if they wear masks it may slow the infection rate, seeing as they wouldn't bite so easily. The people who believe 5G is responsible for spreading the virus. Seriously, I don't understand how electromagnetic signals could possibly distribute a biologically impactful virus. Seriously, there's a new low every month/year. As I understand that whole conspiracy theory, at least the start of it, nobody thought 5G spread coronavirus. They thought 5G was actually killing tens of thousands in its own way, and the coronavirus was an attempt at a cover-up. Coronavirus was either completely fabricated, or a fairly harmless new virus they used to carry the blame. On the Man show, they set up a booth on some pier, I think Santa Monica, and were getting women to sign up to end women's suffrage. Tons of women were signing. Obviously, being the Man show, this was a joke on women, but the reality is the amount of people in general who do not know suffrage is the right to vote, and not some sort of suffering, is far too high.